The Galactic Empire wasn't just about cool uniforms and intimidating helmets. It was a brutal machine built on the most complex military hierarchy ever created. One so twisted that knowing the wrong rank could literally get you executed. Most Star Wars fans think they understand Imperial ranks, but here's what blows minds. The Empire had 9 separate military branches, each with their own ladder of power that Palpatine designed specifically to keep everyone backstabbing each other instead of him. Here's the part that changes everything. These ranks weren't about military efficiency. They were psychological warfare. Every colored tile, every uniform variation, every promotion was a weapon designed to control the galaxy through fear, ambition, and paranoia. This breakdown covers every single Imperial rank, from the lowliest Stormtrooper to the Emperor himself, reveals the hidden power games that most fans completely miss, and includes production secrets from the costume designers who created this system of galactic oppression. But to understand how deep this rabbit hole goes, we need to start at the very top, where absolute power meets absolute corruption. Emperor Sheev Palpatine sat at the apex of this pyramid of power, holding absolute authority as commander-in-chief of every Imperial asset in the galaxy. But here's Palpatine's genius. He rarely gave direct orders. Instead, he created a web of competing authorities that kept his subordinates focused on climbing the ladder rather than overthrowing it. The Emperor governed from the shadows, using key enforcers and regional governors to protect his will while maintaining plausible deniability for the Empire's worst atrocities. Darth Vader occupied the most unique and terrifying position in galactic history. He held no formal military rank, yet could override any Imperial officer regardless of their branch or seniority. Vader existed outside the entire command structure, a dark enforcer who could commandeer fleets, execute admirals, and lead campaigns with complete impunity. His authority was so absolute that even Grand Moffs had to negotiate with him as equals, not subordinates. This wasn't an oversight. It was brilliant psychological manipulation that kept everyone guessing where real power actually lay. Below the Emperor sat the Imperial Ruling Council, led by Grand Vizier Mas Amida and including figures like Sate Pestage. This collective of bureaucrats and court members handled the massive administrative machine of governing a million worlds. They coordinated everything from Death Star construction to regional taxation. But here's the key: they had administrative power, not military command. Palpatine made sure no single group could threaten him by controlling both politics and warfare. The Imperial High Command formed the apex of military strategic planning, comprising the highest-ranking officers from each of the Empire's primary branches. Separate from this was the Joint Chiefs, senior military advisors including the Chief of the Army, Chief of the Navy, and directors of agencies like Imperial Intelligence. These bodies managed day-to-day strategic matters, while the Minister of War held overarching supervision of the entire military apparatus, with even powerful Moffs sometimes reporting to this office. Grand Moffs were the apex predator of Imperial politics, created in the 5th year of Palpatine's reign to govern entire oversectors. These weren't just administrators, they were regional emperors with life and death authority over territories containing dozens of star systems and billions of people. Grand Moffs wielded supreme command over all Imperial military assets in their jurisdiction and could override any sector Moff beneath them. Their distinctive double-row rank insignia with 12 squares wasn't just decoration, it was a visual declaration of near absolute power. Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin perfectly exemplified this terrifying authority. He controlled the entire Outer Rim, roughly a third of the known galaxy, and commanded the first Death Star. Tarkin's relationship with Vader was deliberately balanced by Palpatine to create tension between his two most powerful enforcers. Neither fully deferred to the other, creating a dynamic where both were checking each other's power while serving the Emperor's interest. Standard Moffs controlled individual sectors, still massive territories, but answering to Grand Moffs above them. What made Moffs particularly dangerous was their dual authority as both military commanders and political governors. They controlled not just fleets and armies, but also economies, legal systems, and information flow within their sectors. As the Empire evolved, Moffs increasingly replaced Senate representatives, transforming their territories into military-ruled domains, where Imperial law was enforced through fear rather than democracy. At the foundational level were planetary governors, responsible for individual star systems or planets within larger sectors. They reported directly to their sector Moff and handled the crucial day-to-day enforcement of Imperial decrees, population control, and resource management. Governors like Arinda Price on Lothal demonstrated how this rank balanced local governance with Imperial exploitation, serving as the Empire's face to ordinary citizens while extracting maximum value for the war machine. Here's something most fans don't realize. There were only ever 12 Grand Admirals at any given time, 12 officers in an empire with millions of ships and billions of personnel could wear the distinctive white uniform of ultimate naval authority. This wasn't just about military skill, it was about political survival and absolute loyalty to the Emperor. Grand Admiral Thrawn exemplified this elite status, wielding unlimited authority to requisition any Imperial asset and operating almost independently of normal command structures. The naval flag officer structure included High Admirals, coordinating vast regional fleets, Fleet Admirals serving as administrative heads of entire naval operations, and Standard Admirals commanding sector fleets with dozens of Star Destroyers. Vice Admirals like Ray Sloan commanded smaller fleets or served as deputies, while Rear Admirals typically led squadrons or held significant staff positions. Each level represented increasing responsibility for maintaining Imperial dominance across the galaxy's space lanes. Commodores often commanded multiple vessels or specialized task forces, bridging the gap between single-ship captains and fleet admirals. Imperial Navy captains held perhaps the most crucial frontline position, commanding massive Star Destroyers with thousands of crew members and enough firepower to devastate planets. The pressure was immense. Success could lead to rapid promotion, but failure often meant execution by Vader himself. Commanders served as executive officers on capital ships or commanded smaller vessels like corvettes and frigates. Lieutenant commanders headed major departments on Star Destroyers or commanded mid-sized ships. Lieutenants, both senior and junior grades, managed specific shipboard systems and led TIE fighter squadrons. Ensigns represented fresh academy graduates learning the ropes, while midshipmen were still in training aboard academy ships. Warrant officers provided crucial technical expertise, bridging the gap between enlisted personnel and commissioned officers with decades of specialized knowledge. Grand General represented the pinnacle of Imperial Army authority, with only two confirmed in canon, Cassio Tage and Kenner Loring. After the first Death Star's destruction, Tage was given command of the entire Imperial military, making him arguably the most powerful non-Force user in the Empire. Grand Generals held ultimate authority over ground forces and frequently occupied seats in Imperial High Command, responsible for theater-wide strategies spanning multiple sectors. High Generals acted as military governors on strategic worlds, wielding substantial authority and operating semi-independently under Moffs. Standard Generals like Maximilian Veers commanded core-level units or planetary garrisons, often working closely with the ISB to ensure troop loyalty. Major generals handled corps-level command and strategic deployment, while brigadier generals commanded brigades and coordinated complex combined arms operations involving infantry, armor, and aerial support. High colonels, a rarely mentioned transitional rank, oversaw multiple regiments and reported directly to generals. Standard colonels commanded regiments of several thousand troops or held senior staff positions, like Wolf Yularen, who transitioned from Admiral to ISB Colonel. Majors led battalions and served as crucial middle management, translating strategic directives into tactical execution. Commanders led specialized units or companies, while captains commanded standard companies of 100 to 200 troops. Lieutenants, divided into senior and junior grades, led platoons of 40 to 50 soldiers and served as the primary interface between officers and enlisted personnel. Second lieutenants were entry-level officers fresh from Imperial academies, closely supervised while learning command responsibilities. Ensigns or officer cadets represented the lowest commissioned rank, often serving as aides to senior officers while completing their training. The elite Stormtrooper Corps technically fell under Army command, but operated with considerable independence as the Empire's fanatically loyal shock troops. Their rank system used colored shoulder pauldrons for instant battlefield recognition, black for standard troopers and lance corporals, gray for corporals, white for sergeants, red for squad leaders, and orange for unit commanders. Stormtrooper organization was precisely structured. 7 troopers and a corporal formed a squad led by a sergeant. 4 squads created a platoon under a lieutenant, and multiple platoons formed companies under captains or majors. Colonels might command regiments of 3,200 stormtroopers, while full legions of 12,800 troops fell under senior colonels or generals. Specialized units like Death Troopers, Shadow Troopers, and Purge Troopers operated under similar hierarchies, while representing the elite within the elite. In garrison settings, stormtrooper officers might wear blue-tiled rank plaques or black tunic uniforms with standard Imperial badges. However, their primary identification remained the pauldron system, allowing for command recognition without compromising the intimidating uniformity that made stormtroopers such effective psychological weapons across the galaxy. The Imperial Security Bureau represented the Empire's most feared internal security apparatus, operating with complete authority that often superseded regular military command. ISB officers wore distinctive white uniforms and possessed sweeping powers to investigate, interrogate, and override military commanders if Imperial security was threatened. Their ranks mirrored military hierarchy: lieutenant, captain, major, colonel, up to general, but with specialized titles like agent for field operatives and supervisor for section leaders. Most terrifying were ISB loyalty officers, embedded within regular military units. These agents could investigate any personnel for treason, monitor ideological conformity, and report directly to ISB High Command. Their presence meant even high-ranking officers lived in constant fear of denunciation, creating an atmosphere where survival depended on absolute loyalty to Imperial doctrine. Imperial intelligence handled external espionage and covert operations, while overseeing the Advanced Weapons Research Division. This meant Director Orson Krennic and the Death Star Project operated under intelligence authority, placing the agency at the heart of the Empire's most secretive superweapons. Intelligence ranks included agent and controller, with the organization divided into specialized subgroups handling everything from elite operations to naval intelligence. Beyond Army and Navy, the Empire maintained 7 additional branches most fans never hear about. The Imperial Department of Military Research developed secret weapons and interrogation technology. The Diplomatic Corps spread Imperial policies to new worlds, though the Empire preferred military occupation to negotiation. The Engineering Corps handled construction and manufacturing of advanced technology. The Survey and Exploration Corps mapped wild space and the unknown regions, particularly areas of interest to Palpatine. The Surgical Corps served as the Empire's medical branch, while secretly developing biological weapons. The military police maintained discipline within Imperial forces, divided into Army and Navy branches. Most significantly, Comp Force, the military arm of Comp Nor, managed all Imperial military academies, meaning nearly every officer received ideological indoctrination alongside tactical training. This ensured loyalty was built into the system from the ground up. Here's what makes the Imperial hierarchy truly diabolical. It was designed by a Sith Lord who understood that the best way to prevent rebellion wasn't just fear of punishment, but hope of advancement. Every rank badge, every colored tile, every uniform variation served dual purposes: military efficiency and psychological manipulation. Officers were too busy climbing the ladder and watching their backs to organize effective resistance against the system itself. By creating 9 competing branches with overlapping authorities, Palpatine ensured his officers spent more energy fighting each other than challenging his rule. The ISB monitored the military, intelligence competed with the ISB, Comp Force indoctrinated new officers, and regional governors vied for Imperial favor. Everyone was simultaneously striving for promotion while remaining isolated from real power. The genius was making everyone complicit while keeping them powerless. A stormtrooper dreamed of sergeant stripes, a lieutenant aspired to captain, a captain hoped for admiral, but none could challenge the system without losing everything they'd worked to achieve. The hierarchy created its own momentum, with each rank invested in maintaining the structure that might elevate them. The Imperial rank system wasn't just military organization, it was a masterclass in authoritarian control that kept trillions under the boot of a single Sith Lord. From Palpatine's absolute authority down to the lowliest stormtrooper recruit, every position served the dual purpose of military function and political suppression. The complexity wasn't bureaucratic bloat, it was deliberate fragmentation, designed to prevent any single leader from accumulating enough power to threaten the Emperor. This knowledge transforms every Imperial scene in Star Wars. When Vader strides onto a bridge, you understand why officers freeze. He operates outside their entire system. When Tarkin gives orders, you recognize the regional authority that makes him untouchable. When ISB agents appear, you feel the terror that even Admirals experience. The colored squares on uniforms aren't just decoration, they're the physical manifestation of a psychological weapon designed to control the galaxy. The same system that prevented internal rebellion also made the Empire brittle. When Palpatine and Vader died at Endor, the carefully constructed hierarchy collapsed almost immediately. Officers were so conditioned to compete rather than cooperate that they couldn't unite against external threats. The backstabbing and paranoia that kept the Empire stable ultimately tore it apart when central authority vanished. So, which Imperial rank terrifies you most? The unlimited authority of Grand Admirals, the regional power of Grand Moffs, or the shadow influence of ISB loyalty officers? And what would you want to see next? How the First Order tried to rebuild the system? Or the hidden power struggles within the Empire's 9 branches? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want more deep dives into the galaxy's darkest secrets, make sure to subscribe for more weekly breakdowns that reveal the psychology behind your favorite Star Wars moments.